Our next presenter or next panelist will be Norbert Tribl, also from the University of Szeged. The title of his presentation is Identity Questions and National Symbols. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Tóth, and thank you for the opportunity to give this presentation here today, and for the CEA for organizing this conference. It's always difficult to give a presentation at the end of a conference because dinner is very close and everyone is hungry. So I promise I will respect your time. My topic is the constitutional identity and the relationship between the identity and national symbols. The concept of constitutional identity appears in the Anglo-Saxon legal systems and in the supranational system of the European integration under different lights and approaches. While in Anglo-Saxon approaches, the interpretation of these legal institutions in conformity the interpretation of legal institutions in conformity with the Constitution is understood under the concept of the identity, while the European concept seems to be applied when possible conflicts between the legal system of the EU and national constitutions of the member states arise. This is a very problematic field. With many debates. However, today I would like to say a few words not about the European function of constitutional identity, but rather about its content and connection with national and state symbols. First of all, we have to form some questions. What is identity? What are symbols? And what is the connection between them, if there is? Identity, the identity concept means, in its most basic sense, self-determination or essential sameness. From a philosophical point of view, the logical continuity according to which every concept must be identical with itself in a given time and in a given relation. It also implies a sense of identification with ourselves or with a group. Identity or self-determination is inherently a social psychological concept that examines issues of self-definition of a person in relation to society. Some words about symbols. As Ivan Holas says, the symbols express a basic human need, and they are a means of reinforcing communication and group cohesion, and as such, help to maintain the identity and stability of the group. Symbols are therefore both a means of expressing identity to the outsiders and strengthening it as well at the same time. The need to use symbols is inherent in human nature and has accompanied the development of human civilization. Accordingly, symbols are linked to the history of nations and the states. The nation or the state, as the basic unit of human society, is determined by the identity of the individuals who make up society, and vice versa. The identity of the individuals who make up society is determined by the nation's identity and the historical memory of the nation. National symbols are therefore expressions of the sense of identity that derives from belonging to a nation, and through these symbols, the sense of national identity can be deepened. In the field of identity, we can talk not only about understanding identity as a given, but also about understanding it as a dynamic, interactive process. According to this view, identity is never some kind of complete and finished determination. Identity cannot be given. Everyone must constantly and continuously construct the identity. Individual identity is, however, made up of different partial identities. Thus, national identity based on national consciousness is just as much part of individual identity as the religious or my identity or etc. For instance. Each of these partial identities usually has its own symbol system. Identity, however, is not merely linked to the person as an individual. A group of persons organized according to a structure may also behave as an autonomous entity in relation to the outside world, and the outside world will be the most important, and as such may have a collective identity. Consequently, not only can identity elements be identified for individual, separate members of the community, but also due to the homogeneity of the members of the community according to a certain characteristic, identity patterns can be identified. So the identity of the community is the result of a collective experience, the collective identity formation, and on the basis of this phenomenon we can speak of religious, cultural, constitutional, and of course national identities. And the essence of identity is unity in the face of the outside world, usually expressed through a common symbols. In the process of identity formation, identity is an attempt by the entity that thinks about itself to name the factors by which it differs from or is identical to other entities. Identity theories focus on the relationship between the society and the constitution, as well as the requirements characterizing the constitution itself. Consequently, constitutional identity involves the symbolism of the constitutional system, a system of state symbols, which, according to Habermas' theory of constitutional patriotism, also reflects back on society and shapes its collective identity and the national consciousness. According to the so-called theory of constitutional disharmony, constitutional identity is created by the interaction of three factors identifiable in the constitutional system. These are the constitutional community that gives life to the constitution, the constitutional power, and the constitution itself. In this view, it is the confrontational relationship between these three factors that makes the constitution more than a simple legal document. It makes it alive, and it is the cornerstones of this confrontational relationship that constitute the identity elements of the constitutional system. When we want to separate national symbols from state symbols, if there is a need to do so, this distinction can help us in the process of distancing. The identity of the community or communities that make up the constitutional system can be defined as national identity, while the symbols enshrined in the constitution that embody state power, sovereignty, or the continuity of the state can be called state symbols. On this basis, constitutional identity describes the process of organic development of the constitutional system, in the course of which a symbolism of the constitutional system is formed, which expresses the sovereignty of the state on the one hand, and at the same time embodies the connection of the members of the society to the state. This symbolism is also capable of reflecting social and constitutional values. One of the defining characteristics of constitutional identity is therefore continuity. The identity of the constitutional system cannot be satisfactorily defined in a single moment in time with a closed catalog of values, whereas the catalog of state and national symbols is relatively stable, but the underlying value system may change. If at a given moment in time we wish to name the elements of the identity of a constitutional system, they are embodied in the provisions of the Constitution as a result of the confrontational relationship between the factors creating the constitutional system itself, as constitutional values and institutions, constitutional principles, as well as state and the national symbols. An excellent example of the link between constitutional identity and national symbols at the constitutional level is the Latvian constitution and the constitutional court practice based on it. The Latvian constitutional court has extensive experience in the field of constitutional identity. The court considers Article 1 to 4 of the Constitution, in Latin Satversme, as the core of the Constitution of Latvia. These are provisions on an independent and democratic republic, popular sovereignty, protection of the state theory, respect for the Latvian language and national flag, and the basic rules for parliamentary elections. The constitutional courts identifies sovereignty, national independence, territorial integrity of Latvia, the principle of democratic exercise of power, respect for the Latvian language, fundamental human and Christian values, and respect for the Latvian national flag and national symbols as values included in the scope of constitutional identity of Latvia. As Ivan Halas puts it, state and national symbols have essentially a dual function: outward representation and inward integration. In integrational relations, the former is dominant, and in internal relations, the latter. In terms of identity forming and identity expressing functions, community creating internal integration can also play an important role for diaspora members living abroad. State and national symbols as a specific cultural and psychological boundary makers can at the same time express both belonging and separation from others. The classic state symbols used today, like the anthem, the flag, and the coat of arms, as symbols of sovereignty, generally have a long history and are usually enshrined in constitutions. However, the catalogue of national symbols is much broader than the catalogue of symbols enshrined in constitutions, as almost any event, circumstance, or even place that affects the nation as a whole can become a defining factor of a community's identity, which, after undergoing a process of consolidation, can itself become a symbol with a specific value. And as I said, I would short, so thank you for your kind attention.